The secrets of female sexuality. First of all, let me explain that this information only pertains to mentally healthy women. In fact, it best fits women who are intelligent, high self-esteem, and highly sexual. And when I say, women this and women that, I mean most women. Certainly there are exceptions to everything. And this only applies to women who you intend to see on a continuing basis. It does not apply to one-night stands. The most important reason for this is because only women who take you seriously are going to respond to this. Remember, when you lead a woman, you are responsible for her. As they say, with great power comes great responsibility. It was a very dark day, though it was a beautiful sunny Tuesday evening in April of 1992, it was to be a very dark day for me. Returning home from work, I pulled into our subdivision of large brick homes. Golden beams of sunlight shone through the trees onto the carefully manicured lawns. I pulled into our garage and went into the house. I hugged my 2 children and I kissed my wife. She was stunning. A lingerie model. 5 feet 9 inches, 36-24-36, beautiful breasts, amazing ass, long athletic legs, long dark hair, and full red lips. I had met her 10 years before. We had sex on the 3rd date. 2 years later, we were married. We had built a big home in the suburbs. We had 2 beautiful children. And she and I had sex every night. It was basic vanilla sex, but we always had simultaneous orgasms. I was a happy man. But recently, the frequency of sex had diminished. We had started arguing about money. It got to the point where I felt that I couldn't do anything right. I didn't know what was wrong. I asked her to sit on the couch with me. I pleaded with her to tell me what was wrong. She simply replied, "I want a divorce and you get the kids. I'm moving out." I was floored. I asked her to explain why, but she refused. Later that evening I was in my den. Behind me was a wall full of mechanical engineering textbooks from my undergrad and electrical engineering books from my master's. Before me was a large solid oak desk that my parents had given me for a housewarming present. They were to be the only things that I would walk away with after the divorce. I picked up the phone to make a call. I heard my wife on the extension in the bedroom telling her sister about the man she had been fucking for the last 2 months. I quietly set the phone back down and I went out my front door to sit on the steps. I stared into the lawn. It felt like I had been punched in the nose and my heart ripped out. It hurt like hell. I had treated her like a queen. I was a good provider. We had good sex. Why? The house went up for sale. The kids and I moved into an apartment. Every other weekend the kids went to her apartment. Sometimes on the weekends that I had the kids, I'd get a babysitter and I'd go out to the nightclubs with a buddy from work. One night I saw her there. She was with the guy she'd been fucking. They were all over each other. It was disgusting. He was a classic bad boy. Or more precisely, a machismo asshole. And he had all the smooth moves. On a weekend that my wife had the kids, I went to the nightclubs and I saw that guy there. He was with another woman. He was doing to her what he had done to my wife. He was startled when he turned to find me standing right in front of him. I assured him that I was not there to kill him, but simply to ask him something. I asked him what he had done right and I had done wrong. Perhaps out of fear for his life, or perhaps to brag, he started telling me everything. He spoke in terms of examples. For educational purposes, I have distilled the morals of the examples here. Find out what she needs and give it to her. Women need constant reassurance, but at the same time, constant doubt. Never let her think she has you. She must always be jealous of you. Always remain interesting and challenging to her. Always keep strife in the relationship. Be possessive of her. She must feel owned. Never let her look at another man. Keep other men away from her. Show her more excitement than any other man has. Sexually fulfill her, and then some. Never let her feel she fully satisfies you. Know her weaknesses and play them when needed. Then he said, "I'm glad you're not the jealous type." I responded with, "If I were, you would not be here." He ran, because where he comes from, such matters are dealt with in very violent ways. The following week I had to drop off some papers at my wife's apartment. As I was about to knock on her door, I heard her and him having sex inside. She sounded like she was enjoying it a lot more than she had enjoyed it with me. I listened until I heard her come very vocally, and then I slid the papers under the door and left. Never again would a bad boy steal a woman away from me, and never again would a woman be anything less than completely fulfilled and breathless after sex with me. The long road to enlightenment, I got my wits back and settled down. No longer was I interested in revenge. I simply wanted to live a fulfilling life. I knew what that bad boy was doing when he worked the women. I wanted to have the same effect on women, but I didn't want to do it by taking advantage of a woman's vulnerabilities. I wanted to do it by empowering her strengths. I started by reading divorce recovery books. I read as many as I could. That got me interested in books about relationships. I read tons of them. It started to become apparent to me that my relationship with my wife had been doomed from the beginning. Basically, as it turns out, she had low self-esteem. Even though she had the perfect life, and was treated like a queen, she did not have the sense of deservedness enough to appreciate it. In fact, it was against what she believed that she deserved. She honestly believed that she deserved to be treated poorly. And thus, she sabotaged what she had with me. So, basically, it was all my fault. I had chosen poorly. That's right. I had only married her because she was so smoking hot. That was the first step to recovery. I assumed responsibility for my lot in life. Because of what I had been through, I worked hard to devise a way to choose the correct women, which has since served me well. At the same time, I realized what that bad boy was doing. He was preying on the insecurities of low self-esteem women. Women need constant doubt. Never let her think she has you. That will certainly keep a low self-esteem woman on her toes. Low self-esteem women are always chasing what they can't have. But a high self-esteem woman will tire of that. A high self-esteem woman wants to get to the point where she can enjoy having her man. If she can't, she'll move on. She must always be jealous of you. True for preying on the insecurities of low self-esteem women. Very bad for high self-esteem women. there are much better ways to have the occasional healthy jealousy that keeps a high-quality woman sharp. Always remain interesting and challenging to her. Agreed. But there are healthy ways to do this. Always keep strife in the relationship. Wrong. That will attract low self-esteem women. It will repel high-quality women. Be possessive of her. She must feel owned. Very bad. High-quality women do not want to be owned. I will later explain the correct occasional context in which this is actually a good thing, and very powerful. Never let her look at another man. Keep other men away from her. Bad boys are very insecure, paranoid men who know that other bad boys are always trying to steal his woman away. But in actuality, such a mindset will repel high-quality women. And in reality, there is no need. Show her more excitement than any other man has. Sexually fulfill her, and then some. Agreed. Most definitely. And I have gone much further. Never let her feel she fully satisfies you. Wrong. In fact, for high-quality women, I will show you that in fact you want to show her just how much she satisfies you, and why that is so powerful. Know her weaknesses and play them when needed. That is just so fucking stupid. Typical of the low self-esteem bad boy. I have devised much more rewarding ways to keep a high self-esteem woman excited about the relationship, and in fact, how to bring out her inner slut. And since I was back in the dating scene again, I wanted to be a memorable lover for the women that I was meeting, and I wanted to enjoy the experiences myself to the maximum extent possible. So I read all the books about sexuality and being a better lover. Unfortunately, they were somewhat disappointing. On the weekends that the kids were at their mother's, I would go to the nightclubs. At the time I was 36, and felt old and used up. But I began to discover that some of the young women found me attractive. I started dating a 19-year-old woman who had gotten in the nightclub using a fake ID. Unfortunately, she was not having orgasms. I was making love to her like I had made love to my wife for many years. I realized soon that that was not working on the new women. Later she started dating a bad boy. One night she and I ran into each other and I asked her how things were going. She was happy to report that her new boyfriend had given her her first orgasm. Damn it. A bad boy had beaten me again. I decided that that would never happen again. I read more books on sexuality and being a better lover. I purchased educational videos. I listened to audios. There may have been one paragraph in each book worth quoting, but otherwise they were all the same old stuff rehashed. I decided to try stuff myself and figure out what really works. I started dating a 22-year-old woman. She also had never had an orgasm. She had only been with one man before. They had been together for a year, and no doubt he had tried everything on her. So I just took my time finding what would feel good for her. With my middle finger I searched for her G-spot, like all the sexuality books recommended, but I received no response from her. Then I decided to slide my finger in as far along the front wall of her vagina as I could. I curled the tip of my finger and pressed hard against the front wall. She immediately responded to this. After continuing this for a few minutes, I watched the face of this beautiful woman while she experienced her very first orgasm. I decided that I was going to be my own sexuality teacher. I gave more women their first orgasm. I converted women who had never masturbated in their life into masturbating maniacs. I turned women who insisted that they could only have one orgasm into multi-orgasmic cum machines. And interestingly, I later came to realize that I had actually benefited most from the education I received when I was writing my master's thesis in electrical engineering on artificial neural networks. As computer engineers, we look to the human brain as an alternative computing architecture. It did things seemingly effortlessly that we could not get computers to do. We read papers by neurologists. They quoted papers by psychiatrists and psychologists. That got me very interested in psychology. I also learned some neural physiology and was starting to form an understanding of how the brain processes sexuality. So I started to look at the power in the psychology and neural physiology of female sexuality. That's when things started getting very interesting. How I ran a phone sex line for women to call after my divorce in 1992, I felt very defeated and alone. I had custody of our 2 small children, and thus in the evenings I was stuck at home. So, after I put the children to bed, I turned to the telephone. There was a singles magazine in our area where people put in personal ads. You would read through the ads and decide which women to call. You would then call a 900 number and leave a message and your number. The ladies would then listen to their messages and decide who to call back. That was back in the days before there was caller ID. The women could call and know that you had no way of knowing who they really were or where they lived. So there was that anonymity which gave them safety. I picked women who were recently divorced and about 30 years old. So when they would call, the rapport would build quickly as we had much in common and much to talk about. I would build common ground, based on our similar situations of having gone through a divorce. This allowed her to feel comfortable with me. I also became very good at establishing an emotional connection with the woman on the telephone. This is critically important. Women are emotional creatures and they need to establish a connection before they can feel free to continue further. Since she understood my situation, I would say to her, "I really enjoy talking to you. I feel like I can tell you anything, and you understand it and accept it." She would reply, "Oh yes, I do." This served to make her feel that she could tell me anything as well and that I would fully understand it and accept it. Thus they would open up even further. For many of these women, by the end of their marriage, they no longer felt sexual. They weren't having orgasms, even by masturbating. They didn't even fantasize. There was no point in it. They had left their marriages for various reasons, but in all cases the sex had become boring. Their husbands were lousy lovers. I asked these women, was it because he had a small penis? They would reply, "Well, actually, no." Many of them had affairs with exciting lovers. They talked about how much their lover turned them on. So I asked these women, was it because he had a big penis? They would reply, "Well, actually, no." So it didn't have anything to do with the size of the man's penis. The women were lonely. They were reaching out in the dark to talk to another human being, to have thoughtful human interaction. For them it was therapeutic to share their secrets, even with an anonymous person. And because it was anonymous, they were completely open and honest. I became very good at getting them to open up and share. I would ask them, "What do you really want in a man?" They would describe that, or at least try to describe it to the best of their ability. Often they didn't really know themselves, they just knew what they wanted to feel. The important thing is that they started to feel those feelings while they were on the phone with me. So I would then ask them, "How would that make you feel to be with such a man?" They would begin to describe that. In order to describe it, they had to imagine feeling it. This caused them to actually begin to feel those feelings and imagine that they were really with that man. And because they were talking to me, and had rapport with me, those feelings got associated to me on a subconscious level. They did not realize this on a conscious level. Because I was genuinely interested in what they thought, and because I made it a point to demonstrate that I was a good listener, they opened up about what they would really like to have. In other words, what they fantasized about on an emotional and relationship basis. When they were basking in a flood of good emotions and feelings, which were all connected to me, I would ramp that up. After having established an emotional connection with them that allowed them to feel very close to me, I leveraged that to move the conversation in a romantic direction. I would have them describe to me what they would do on the ideal date. They would describe some romantic night out consisting of dinner and dancing and walking on the beach. Of course, all of this would be described in detail. Then we are seated at our table, which is adorned with a fine white linen tablecloth and one tall candle. Sometimes they would instead prefer that I describe the ideal date. If so, I would simply narrate the ideal date as described to me by previous women. Simple really. Give women what they have to have. After they are basking in the flood of romantic feelings, all of which is linked to me, allowing them to feel romantic towards me, I would then covertly move things in a sexual direction. I would say, "Do you ever feel alone?" They would affirm. Then I would pose the question to them, what would it feel like to be the opposite of alone? What word could be used to describe that? They would try to describe it and try to put a word to it. It served to remind them that they are alone and to remind them how much they yearn to feel close and connected. Then I would say, "Yeah. Sometimes I feel alone. Especially at this time of night. I think about what it would be like to be with that someone special. What would we say? What would we do? How would we make each other feel?" They would softly say, "Yeah." Then I would say, "I feel very close to you right now." They would reply, "Yes, I feel very close to you too." Then I would softly say, "I wish I were there with you right now." They would softly reply, "Yes, if I were there right now, I would want to hold you so close." They would softly reply, "Yeah, and I would feel your soft skin against mine." They would sigh. Here is the critical point. "And I would ever so softly kiss the side of your neck." At this point, fully 80% of the women would simply stop talking and just sigh. I would continue. "And I would softly kiss the side of your neck all the way down to your shoulder. And I would slowly describe in detail everything I would do if I were there. Beginning with what I would kiss. Then what I would touch." They would start moaning. "Then what I would lick." Within minutes, these women would be screaming in orgasmic ecstasy. Fully 80% of these women, all attractive and educated, on the very first call, to a man they have never talked to before in their life, would engage in phone sex with me. Have you ever heard of that before? Intelligent, educated, professional, successful, attractive women calling a strange man and having phone sex? It's usually the other way around, where men pay $4.99 a minute to call a woman to have phone sex. And that woman is actually an ugly old hag in a hairnet smoking a cigarette with a monotonic foreign accent. I continually adjusted and refined my phone sex techniques, making it progressively more realistic and effective. Just from my voice and the reality that I created in their mind with sensory-rich descriptions and erotic words and eventually outright naughty vulgarity, women were having orgasms, then women were having multiple orgasms, then women were having orgasms without even touching themselves. I became extremely good at giving phone sex. I was absolutely lethal. The phone would ring and I knew that within 1 hour another woman that I had never talked to before, would be screaming in orgasmic ecstasy. It became routine. I had to work the next day, and I needed a freshly ironed shirt for work. So I'd be getting women off on the phone while I was ironing my shirts. I would literally be having phone sex while I did my laundry. Picture this. I am looking down at my ironing board, holding the collar down of my white shirt with my left hand while with my right hand I press the iron across with the phone pinched between my right shoulder and chin while I say, "Keep coming for me, baby. I'm gonna come. Now. Now, baby. Come harder," while the woman is screaming at the top of her lungs right into my ear. I was leading a private life in the evenings running a phone sex line for women. I started feeling like a sex industry worker. I should have been wearing a hairnet and had a cigarette dangling from my mouth with a really long ash on it that's about to fall off onto my shirt while I squint my eyes to avert the rising smoke. And these women were well-educated professionals. Elementary school teachers, mid-level managers, emergency room nurses, stockbrokers, sales directors, fast-rising corporate executives, you name it. They all had high self-esteem. They came from good homes. They were the farthest thing from sluts. But when I got on the phone with them and unlocked their pent-up sexual potential, they became total sluts. These women really opened up and taught me things that fascinated me. They spoke of their sexual past and their fantasies. I learned a great deal about the secret sexual lives and thoughts of women from all of those conversations. That's when I really started to understand the underlying sexual potential that exists within women. My beliefs about women began to be shattered and totally rewritten. I became even more fascinated with the minds of women. Women are not that complicated after all. It's just that we don't understand them. And that is completely understandable, seeing that social conditioning had lied to us. Even some of the so-called sex experts had unintentionally misguided us through their own ignorance. I am trying to get you to begin to understand women and to begin to rewrite your beliefs. When you truly begin to understand women, they are no longer intimidating, but instead, they are absolutely fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable. The interesting thing is that even at that time, during my phone sex period, I began to understand that what I was doing was something very novel. I was onto something that nobody knew about. There was nobody that I could talk to about this, because nobody could even comprehend that it was even possible. And I had absolutely no idea at the time that I would end up teaching this stuff. For me, at the time, I was on the beginning of a long learning curve that would prove to be the beginning of a fascinating journey. The reason that I was beginning to be very good at it is because I genuinely had a passion for it. That is key. Does size matter? There is the classic belief that a large penis is the key to satisfying a woman. When those recently divorced women from my phone sex era told me how their husbands were such boring lovers, I asked them, did he have a small penis, and they replied, well, actually, no. When they told me of their exciting lover that they had an affair with, I asked them, did he have a big penis, and they replied, well, actually, no. That is when I first started to question the contribution of penis size. When the internet started to become popular, I met women online. I met a number of married women who were looking to have an affair because they were tired of getting skewered by their husband's big cock. They found their times with me to be refreshing, as well as multi-orgasmic. Even now, I have ex-girlfriends coming back for more while telling me about their current lovers with large dicks, saying, but he doesn't make me feel what I used to feel. Here are some actual emails that I have received from men, who had not yet purchased any of my masterful lover products. I have been either blessed or burdened with a big penis. The woman I am with now has lots of trouble taking in the whole thing. She said it feels like it's bottoming out most of the time, to a very tender area inside, leaving her with a very uncomfortable feeling. If in the missionary position, if I slide in slowly, she's okay. I can't go hog wild because it hurts her, but if I don't go hog wild then I find it hard to maintain an erection. She has never had a vaginal orgasm. She has only had orgasms through clitoral stimulation. I've been working with her trying to get her to orgasm in the G-spot area, with no success yet. Do you have any suggestions or positions that would make sex more enjoyable for her and me? In reply to your email, I would say to you, she is not having orgasms in intercourse, so what's in it for her? The same old routine every time and she never comes. It gets boring. And the regular impaling against her tender cervix becomes downright irritating. It gets really old. To give her her first vaginal orgasm, use your 3.5 long middle finger on her deep spot. Which isn't that deep actually, it's just deeper than the G-spot. Once you do that, she'll be much more receptive to intercourse. But you're still going to have to choke up on your bat. Here's another email, my girl has never had an orgasm. I have had sex with her 4 miserable times doing what I thought was good but failing miserably. How do I change the current from what was done to what should be done, causing her to have multiple orgasms and having her trust me despite my last performance? I have a big cock but, this is really humbling to write you about my shortcomings, but not only do I need to change precedents verbally but more importantly, physically. Going to buy your stuff bro, need help? You can tell a lot about a person based on whether they use an uppercase I or a lowercase I to refer to themselves. Here's another email, I recently got with a 23-year-old female who told me that she has never gotten an orgasm from any guy whose penis size is under 10 inches. I told her that I was an 8 and one night when we were having sex she said that she wasn't feeling any orgasms anytime soon, so we stopped. I felt weird and tried finding new ways to give her an orgasm. What can I do to make her have a mind-blowing orgasm that will make her forget all about a man's size? In reply to your email, I would say to you, You may have always thought that you were big, but she's got you thinking that you're too small. She's good, and you're being a wimp. She said that she has never had an orgasm from any guy under 10 inches. You took her challenge even though you didn't measure up. That puts you in the wimp position. You should have simply said, "Sorry honey, can't help you, I'm only an 8." Or is the order of things said in your story a little different? I can imagine a man trying to impress a woman by saying I have an 8-inch cock, and then the woman cutting him down to size by replying with, "I've never gotten an orgasm from any guy who's under 10 inches. She doesn't take you seriously anymore, and thus she is not going to respond to you in bed. Frankly, I'm surprised she went to bed with you. She was probably curious to see what it was like to be with an 8-inch cock. Evidently disappointing." And here's an email from a client, "David, I am having the most incredible sex, as often as I want, and of course, I am giving her the best sex of her life and she can't get enough. And do you want to know the one thing she always asks me? She'll look at me after I've just taken her, or given her an orgasm over the phone, or told her that I was going to fuck her in her office, or anytime I am direct and tell her what I'm going to do. She looks at me expectantly and asks, you're never going to change, right? This isn't some sort of trick. You'll always be this way, right? She had 2 orgasms the other night before I even got in her all the way. I just stuck the head in and let it sit there, and she had 2 just from the head. This is, of course, a hot girl that is used to having men pursue her and wine and dine her, take her on private airplanes to movie premieres, etc., etc., etc. David, life is good. Life is oh, so fucking incredibly good. Thanks for showing us the way. Everything that society told us is a lie: movies, television shows, stories, what other people told us, what our parents told us, what women told us, all that social conditioning, told us that we had to talk women into having sex. It almost made it seem as if sex for a woman was a chore she performed, an obligation she fulfilled, only as a reward for us spending money and attention on her. That single misguided piece of social conditioning had me perplexed for years. For me, it was a belief that was hindering me, a self-sabotaging belief. I was determined to crush it by finding the truth, and then to replace that belief with empowering beliefs based on reality. I began to realize that all the social conditioning was not jiving with what was actually happening in reality. During my 20s, most of my girlfriends absolutely loved sex. It's not that they initiated it, but they would hint at it, and then the moment I would initiate it, they would jump on it. And then in my marriage, my wife had to have it every single night. From my point of view, it appeared that women loved sex. So in my phone sex phase after my divorce, I tried a cruel experiment. Some of those women that I talked with on the phone, I met up with in person. We'd meet at a neutral place, have a drink, and then go to her place. What I would do is I would get her naked on the bed, and then I'd hesitate. I'd stall for as long as I could. If she persisted further, I'd tell her, I'm not really ready for this yet, or, I think maybe this is moving too quickly. Basically, I was purposely not going to have sex with them, just to see what would happen. What happened is they got pissed. Either they'd be insulted and start sulking, or they'd cuss me out. One woman even called me a coward. I made peace with them, got back on their good side, and then obliged them. And then they went at it to such a degree as to make themselves look selfish. I laugh now as I remember back on it, but it proved something very important to me: women love sex. Women actually want to have sex. Not as a reward to a nice guy, but simply because women love sex. That, along with the stories that women shared with me over the phone, along with all the factual evidence from reality, clearly showed that not only do women love sex, but in fact women are far more sexual than men. Further evidence of this can be found in any woman's fantasy book, such as My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday. That will open your eyes. Women have elaborate, intricate fantasies beyond anything men can imagine. For women, it is largely mental and emotional, and about being taken and ravaged. So, more accurately, women love to get fucked. That does not mean that women want to be raped. Certainly not. Rape can potentially destroy a woman's sexuality for life. But in the context of consent, mental stimulation, emotional rapport, and trust, women love to be taken and ravaged and fucked hard. I always thought that women only like to make sweet love. And they certainly sometimes do, as do I. But they sometimes also like to get fucked. So I started doing that. And they got crazy. I pushed the envelope even further. While fucking them hard, I would start to talk dirty. They got crazier. During my last 2 years of college, I had a college sweetheart who I found to be very cute and sexy. She also happened to be very intelligent, very high self-esteem, and extremely sexual. We had very good sex. We did it often and always had simultaneous orgasms. One day she said to me, "As you know, I love horses. Well, I also admire how they are very animalistic when they have sex. And when we do it doggy style, I sometimes imagine that I am a horse and that I am being very animalistic." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But of course I said, "Oh good baby, I love that you are able to feel animalistic." I had certainly heard that women like to be animalistic. I never really thought that they went as far as to imagine they were an animal. So, the next time we did it doggy style, I said to her, "Oh yeah baby, you are being very animalistic." She got even more excited. I couldn't believe I was saying this. I took a big gulp of courage and I said, "You are so animalistic, just like a horse. Whinny like a horse." She started making horse noises. And she started going crazy. "What do horses do?" "Whinny." "I dunno." I continued, "Oh yeah baby, make like a horse. You're getting fucked like an animal." She went ballistic. She started screaming in orgasmic ecstasy. I couldn't believe it. It was so foreign to me. But hell, it worked, and very powerfully. Truth is found in reality. My next girlfriend had no interest in horses, but she did like to be animalistic. I altered what I said to fit the situation. It worked amazingly well. I was onto something. I varied it further with each subsequent girlfriend. I moved it from being animalistic to being slutty. That worked even better. I found that the more vulgar and raunchy I got, the more excited they would get. Women love dirty talk. I pushed the envelope even further. I would see how very naughty I could make them be. I would make a fantasy scenario where she is a very naughty little schoolgirl who was caught masturbating, and I am the mean disciplinary principal. I would spank her and tell her how naughty she is and how she needs to be disciplined. You're being very naughty. You will learn to be a good girl. You are being so naughty, but you want to be a good girl. Come like a good girl. This would consistently result in powerful orgasms. One woman I dated was the executive assistant for the president of a huge corporation. She was very proper, conservative, and wore Liz Claiborne suits. She owned a condo on a lake. I would take her out to the beach and fuck her on the picnic table where anyone with binoculars could see. I told her, "You love getting fucked where everyone can see you. You are so very naughty." Then I brought her into her condo and fucked her in every room of her house, telling her, "You love to get fucked. You can't get fucked enough." She would almost lose consciousness with the long string of orgasms. Women love to be naughty. I wanted to see how naughty I could make them be, even to the point of doing very taboo things. Anal sex has always been a man's fantasy, but I thought women didn't want to have anything to do with it. How wrong I was. I would make them feel very naughty, and then I'd use that to tell them that they are even naughtier because they want to be very taboo and get fucked up the ass. Then I'd train them to have anal orgasms and then I'd fuck them up the ass. Very taboo. Women love to be taboo. I had read stories about women being tied up. So I tried that. I would tie her hands to the bedposts so that her arms were outstretched and she was restrained to the bed, unable to get away. Then I'd remind her how she is so very helpless to me and I intend to do with her as I please and have my way with her. Then I'd tease her with oral stimulation and hold her right on the edge. Then I'd ravage her by fucking her hard, which always resulted in spectacular orgasms. They loved it. Women love to be dominated. I pushed things further, even to the point of making her seem like a slut. I found that women responded powerfully to that. I would say to women, while fucking them doggy style up the ass and pulling their hair, "You love to get fucked up the ass like the slut that you are." They got even crazier. As an extreme example of making a woman be a total slut, I brought one girlfriend to an on-premise swingers club where sexual intercourse among couples happens in a large room as others watch. I had her select a single man that she found attractive, and then he and I double penetrated her while everybody watched while I said to her, "You love to get fucked hard by two men. Show me how you love to get fucked. You love getting fucked hard like the slut that you are." She was screaming in continuous simultaneous vaginal and anal orgasms. Needless to say, she became even more wildly crazy about me. Powerful stuff. It just goes to show. Women love to be slutty. Now that does not mean that women want to be sluts. Certainly not. But in the correct context, with her trusted lover, women love to become ruthlessly expressive sexual creatures. It appears that anything that is taboo is even more exciting, simply because it is forbidden. It is that contrast, that dichotomy. Simply because it smacks at the general definition of what it means to be a proper woman is what makes it exciting. And, interestingly, the better the sex is, the more she has to have it. You might think that when a woman is getting really good sex that she would be satisfied and not need it any more often. but that could not be further from the truth. In actuality, when a woman is wildly crazy about her man and the sex is fantastic, she gets even hornier. She can't get it enough. Women are horny monsters. In many cases, women are far hornier than men. One woman I knew who was in her late 30s told me, "I get so damn horny. I feel like a 16-year-old boy. It's not fair." Another woman told me, "It gets worse at the time I ovulate. Every man I see with a cute butt, I want to jump him right then and there and ride him hard." But women only do these things when led by a man. They cannot do it themselves. They cannot initiate themselves. They can't even suggest it because that would be contrary to being a woman. She needs a man to lead her. Women need men. But where is she going to find such a man? Men like this are extremely rare. That's what makes the masterful lover such a precious find. Now let's get back to social conditioning. Why did all that social conditioning want us to believe that women didn't like sex that much? It appears that there are a number of reasons for this. Social conditioning protects women from men who only want to use women for sex. If social conditioning trains people to believe that women must first be in love to have sex, or must first be in a committed relationship, then women always have a defense against men who view women as simply objects. It keeps young women in check. If parents teach their children that sex is only for love and marriage, then maybe their children won't go out and have sex and get pregnant. Interestingly, the social conditioning does parallel the reality of being a woman to some degree. What I mean by that is the following. Most women are sexually submissive. They do not initiate sex. Instead, they respond to their man when he initiates. And most women prefer it that way. Women are excited by the fact that their man is excited by her. Women love to be desired and taken by their man. It makes her feel feminine and beautiful. Unfortunately though, women are also victims to social conditioning. Social conditioning is interpreted to mean that any woman who loves sex must be a slut. This has caused great frustration for women. Even though women love sex, they'd never admit it to a stranger. It would make them appear as a slut. And it would invite advances from men who objectify women. The advantage of all this social conditioning is that since it is against social norms for a woman to love sex, it makes it even more exciting when a woman demonstrates that she loves sex. Anything that is taboo is even more exciting because it is taboo. Always leverage taboos. To further complicate things, most of us men have been raised to be proper polite gentlemen, and we have been taught that to suggest sex to a woman would insult her because it would insinuate that she is a slut. That piece of social conditioning hinders men and puts men in a predicament. A man wants to be sexual with the woman he is interested in, but he can't suggest it because it would insult her. The woman certainly can't suggest it because that would define her as a slut. And besides, women are sexually submissive, they prefer that the man initiate. That's where you come in. You are going to be that precious find. You are going to lead her. You are going to allow her to finally experience all those things she has always wanted to experience but was too inhibited to do or had never met a man who could lead her. Here is the most important thing that men need to understand, yet it is one of the toughest things for men to accept. Women are far more sexual than men. In fact, women are far more sexual than most men can even comprehend. What women really look for in men. This discussion is in the context of women who are for the most part emotionally healthy. First of all, you should only be concerned about emotionally healthy women, and secondly, emotionally unhealthy women are driven by unhealthy needs. This discussion is also in the context of what women look for in the men that they might consider for a relationship. This does not apply to one-night stands, as women do not take such men as seriously. So, what do emotionally healthy women look for in the men they take seriously? Don't ask women. When women are asked what they look for in men, they usually say something like his sense of humor or a nice guy. But that is not what they really respond to. The fact is that most women are unable to articulate what it is they really look for. Every woman grew up knowing exactly the way it would make her feel to have the ideal man. It is that feeling she must have when a handsome stranger sweeps her off her feet. A woman does not choose a man because of who he is, she chooses him because of how it makes her feel. What do women want? It is an age-old question. Certainly a woman who is 21 wants something completely different than a woman who is 31. And we already know that women want a man that she can trust and respect. So what is it? The trail of clues begins when she was very small. While she was growing up and learning what it means to be female, she developed elaborate sexual fantasies. Early fantasies often begin as crushes. Typically she concentrated her romantic hopes and dreams on a movie star who she will never actually meet. In this context, she can imagine being in love without the complications of reality. It gives her mental practice at being desired, valued, and appreciated. She grew up in the social conditioning that it is feminine and proper to be sexually submissive, and that it is unacceptable to be sexually forward. By being sexually submissive, she can enjoy sexuality without assuming blame for it. She can be slutty without being a slut. Thus, she can be fully sexually expressive by simply following the lead of her man. Therefore, in order for her to have a fulfilling sexual life, she is going to need a man who can lead her, such that she can experience those things that make her feel the way she has always wanted to feel. So she needs a man that she respects, because she will only follow the lead of a man that she takes seriously. And in order for her to surrender to him, she needs to trust him. Only then can she give in to total abandonment. She may also have fantasized about taming a rebel by teaching him how to love. This is the typical story in any romance novel. He is strong and independent. She makes him fall in love with her, a love affair that transcends all others. At the same time, she nurtures her own self-esteem and independence by imagining a lover who believes in her. He admires her for her intelligence and courage. So, she needs a man who can lead her, and she needs a man who will respect her. Thus, the life of an adult woman is one of dichotomies. In her everyday life, she wants to feel like a lady, respected, and admired. But in the bedroom, she wants to be sexual, she wants to be fucked like the slut that she loves to be. That sounds like a contradiction. But she doesn't see it as that. It's what defines her as a woman. The question really should be, what do women actually respond to? Reality is there for all of us to observe. When you observe relationships, you find that some relationships are more fulfilling and successful than others. For the successful relationships, both people are getting all the things they need. In the relationships that are not fulfilling, one or more of either of the two people's needs are not being met. This gives us a clue as to what women need. She knows when something crucial is missing. When you observe women who went outside of their marriage, you find that they are obtaining that which they were missing in their marriage. For example, if the sex is boring, she will get an exciting lover. If the sex in the marriage is acceptable, but she feels that she is not being treated with respect, she will find a man who will treat her with respect. If she does not have emotional intimacy in her marriage, she will go out and have an emotional affair. When women go outside of their marriage, they are looking to have one or more of their needs met. For some women, if it takes two different men in order to get all her needs met, she'll do it. Examples of various men in a woman's life. The answer can be found by observing the various men that a woman has been with in her life. The various men met some of the needs, but not all of them. The bad boy, for example, take the all-famous classic bad boy. The bad boy gives her exciting sex. And because he is very masculine, he makes her feel sexy. But he is a self-absorbed jerk who cheats on her. She does not feel appreciated, and she probably is unable to feel any emotional connection. She often becomes addicted to him because the sex is so good and she feels so very sexual. She will try in vain to tame him, but it is fruitless. In an emotional breakup, she finally leaves him for good. At least the high self-esteem woman finally leaves him for good. The nice guy, then there's the classic nice guy wimp. He makes her feel appreciated, and he is able to establish an emotional connection with her. Unfortunately though, he's boring, or he's not masculine, so she doesn't feel sexy and doesn't feel turned on about sex. She'd love to marry him, because he'd be perfect for a family, but for some reason she keeps delaying the engagement. It's because he doesn't make her feel like a sexual creature. The emotionally unavailable guy, the closest she might get to the ideal relationship, is the emotionally unavailable guy. He's not a wimp, and he's not a jerk. He may be masculine and give her good sex. He may be a gentleman and make her feel very appreciated. But there's one important thing missing: he's not emotionally available. She never feels emotionally connected to him. This is probably the biggest complaint women have. She found the ideal guy in all respects, but damn it, he's not emotionally available. She tries over and over to get him to open up to her, but it never happens. Women are emotional creatures, and they need it, so she eventually leaves. The gay friend: there are other men in her life. There's her gay friend. She loves hanging out with him because he makes her feel sexy and he really makes her feel appreciated. She has a lot in common with him, but damn it, he's gay, and thus not an option. The mysterious lover, and then there's the occasional mysterious lover. For many reasons she'd never ever consider him seriously for anything, but damn, the sex is good. Once every few months, when she is bored with how things are going for her, she'll call him up and go over for one thing, and one thing only, for the sex. And then she leaves hoping she will soon find the ideal man. The married man. And finally, as one last example, there's the married man. Only low self-esteem women allow themselves to become a mistress, or in other words, a woman who wants what she can't have. He gives her exciting sex, he makes her feel sexy, and they share a deep emotional connection. But he won't leave his wife. so she doesn't feel special. And because she is low self-esteem, it is very difficult for her to leave. But let's get back to high self-esteem women. So, those were examples of men in her life. As you can see, one or more of her needs are not being met in each example. And by looking at what is missing, you can conclude what she has to have. Women may not know it, and most of them certainly cannot articulate it, but women need 4 things in order to be fulfilled. There are 4 things women must have. First, she needs to feel appreciated for the unique individual that she is. She needs to feel special, unlike any other woman. And she needs to know that her man supports her in her endeavors. Second, she needs to feel that deep, intimate emotional connection. She needs to have that emotional intimacy with her man. It's a connection she shares only with him. Third, she needs to feel like a woman. She needs to feel beautiful, sexy, and feminine. She needs to enjoy all those things that come with being a woman. And finally, she needs hot, passionate sex. She needs to be seduced, enticed, teased, and satisfied, over and over again. She needs to experience new things, in new ways, including fantasies and roles. It makes her feel desired, affirmed, and alive. If only she could have all that she needs. Imagine if she could meet a man who met all of her needs. A man who made her feel appreciated, a man who evokes a deep, powerful emotional connection with her, a man who makes her feel feminine and womanly and sexy, a man who gives her hot, passionate sex. It's the kind of thing women dream about. Through her life experiences, she begins to understand what she must have in a man. Some look for it in handsome men, some in popular men. She must have that feeling. But through a process of trial and error, including disappointment and despair, she begins to understand what she doesn't want in a man. Like that guy who cheated on her, or that guy who was too much of a marshmallow. If she meets a man who is exciting, she finds that he is reckless. So she looks for a man who is considerate, but he becomes boring. So she goes with a man who is macho, but he ends up being uninteresting. So she seeks a man who is intelligent, but he is sexually bland. So she takes a man who is dominant, but he is in every way demanding. If she could only meet a man who had all the things that could make her feel what she needed to feel. A man who is exciting without being reckless, considerate without being boring, macho without being uninteresting, intelligent without being bland, and dominant without being demanding. That sounds like a contradiction. But it's not. A man does not have to be reckless to be exciting, and he does not have to be boring to be considerate. But most men don't understand that. Which is why women say, a good man is hard to find. So, when I talk to women, they light up when I talk about this. I will say to her, I have asked women what they look for in a man, and what they tell me is, and I hold out my left hand to the side, on one hand, they find a man who is exciting, but he is reckless and inconsiderate. And I hold out my right hand to the side. And on the other hand, they find a man who is considerate, but he is boring. And then I point both of my hands to myself. If there could be just one man who has both, who is exciting and considerate. They love that. And it all gets linked to me. It is obvious why it is important that all 4 things be there. A woman is most fulfilled when she is with a man that she has everything with. But here is the extremely important aspect of all four things being there. When all four things are there, each thing becomes even more powerful. That is when she is with a man that she is wildly crazy about. That is when she can allow herself to become completely naked to him in every way. That is the pinnacle. That is when she is with a masterful lover. The dark secret of women. Women live a life of dichotomies. They need dichotomy in their lives. During the day, she is that proper educated professional woman with a career. But at night, in the bedroom, she wants to express her sexuality like a slut. Without being a slut. Big difference. During the day, she wants to be in control of her life and her destiny. But at night, in the bedroom, she wants to be submissive and told what she will do sexually. A woman wants to be known by most of the people in her life as being innocent. But with her man, she wants to be naughty. On Sunday mornings, she teaches Sunday school. On Saturday nights, she is slutty. Certainly, every woman is different. Each woman has preferences, norms, and extremes unique to her. A woman is attracted to the dichotomy in her man. Her man must be sensitive, yet strong. Caring, yet dominant. Sweet, yet able to tell her what she will do sexually. A woman is attracted to a man who is serious and focused about his career during the day, but at night can be light-hearted and people-oriented. A woman is attracted to a man who is confident, not cocky. Big difference, but who also does not take himself too seriously. With the right man, a woman can allow herself to act dirty, without being dirty. Big difference. In the living room, a woman expects her man to use proper anatomical terms, like penis and vagina. In the bedroom, she expects him to use slang terms, like cock and pussy. If he uses slang in the living room, she sees him as inappropriate. If he uses proper terms in the bedroom, she just laughs. When a woman feels secure, cared about, and special, then she can be turned on about being someone's horny bitch. She can be turned on about being fucked doggy up the ass while having her hair pulled and ass slapped. She can be turned on about watching her man fuck another woman. She can be turned on about being double penetrated by her man and his buddy. All of the above assumes a mentally healthy woman with a good sense of deservedness. It is true that there are mentally screwed up women with a bad sense of deservedness, and practicing the above is more of an affirmation to her, rather than a healthy expression of her sexuality. Very big difference. And another thing. Some men blame society, or religion, or strict upbringings, for repressing female sexual expressiveness. We know very well that women don't want to be sluts, but the reality is that they get slutty for us all the time. We hear women say they would never do a one-night stand, but the reality is that they do it anyway. Society does not impose anything upon women, at least in Western cultures. Women choose it that way themselves. Women are social creatures. They want all that social establishments have to offer. If there weren't a societal structure, women would create one. Women are social creatures. They prefer it that way. They want to know if the man is a social creature. They want to know if he can work within the social rules. They will run him through all their social tests, and when he passes, they fuck him silly. Simple really. Women will continue to sustain the social norms and enjoy being on the arm of a proper gentleman, and women will continue to surrender to him when he fucks them hard like the very naughty sluts that they love to be. Stop worrying about society, or religion, or strict upbringings. Instead, embrace the dichotomy of womankind. The dichotomies of women. Women don't want to be seen as sluts, but in the context of sexual intimacy with the man they trust, they love to be slutty. In her everyday life, a woman does not like to be told what to do. But in the context of sexuality with the man she trusts, she responds very powerfully to being told exactly what to do. Women are repulsed when strange men send her pictures of their erect penis. But in the context of sexual intimacy, they find it a huge turn-on when their man gets an erection. Women are repulsed when strange men masturbate while fantasizing about her. But she finds it very exciting when her man masturbates while fantasizing about her. Women do not like it when men are possessive, relationship-wise. But in the context of sexuality, she loves to be owned. Women do not want to be objectified. But in the context of sexuality with her trusted lover, she loves to be treated like a piece of property. Women are repulsed by the idea of being sexual with their father. But in the context of sexuality, she loves to call her lover daddy. In the context of heightened sexual arousal, everything changes. The secret to giving women wild screaming orgasms: females have the biological imperative to reproduce. Natural selection has weeded out the ones who are not driven to have sex. The female orgasm serves two purposes. First, since it feels so good, she will want to do it often. Secondly, it serves to create muscle contractions that pull the sperm into the uterus. The female orgasm is very much a subconscious thing. She cannot consciously will it to happen. Similarly, if her subconscious objects to having an orgasm, for whatever reason, it will not happen. Men have the biological imperative to reproduce. We are all very familiar with that. Men are also subconsciously driven to please women because it gives our sperm a better chance of making it to the egg. So it is completely understandable that we want our woman to have an orgasm. The most important lesson I learned from my phone sex period is that female sexuality is all mental. That is where the real power is. I had become very good at giving women amazing phone sex using very descriptive narrative of what I would do if I were there. So I thought I'd push things even further. I'd see if my voice alone could give her an orgasm. No stimulation whatsoever. I would ask the woman which hand she was holding the phone with. Then I'd tell her to place her other hand behind her head and keep it there. Then I would go into my usual narrative, but I would go into much more detail, excruciating detail. I would start slowly and softly and sensually. That would go for about 5 minutes. Then I'd build it up a bit louder and a bit faster and more sexual for about 4 minutes. Then I'd go with very fast and loud vulgar description for about another 2 minutes. Then they would have an orgasm. An orgasm created by only the brain. No physical stimulation whatsoever. Of course, they would be flabbergasted. And they loved it. This happened with many other women. It was always very consistent. I later learned hypnosis, and things really started to take off. Since I could give a woman a mental orgasm, I wondered if I could give a woman an instant orgasm, by simply telling her to come. After I made her come mentally, I'd let her rest for a while, and then I'd hypnotize her. This worked both over the phone and in person. While under hypnosis, I'd simply tell her that when I say the words "come now," she will instantly have an orgasm. Then I'd say, "Come now," and she'd instantly have an orgasm. After her orgasm subsided, I'd let her rest for only a few seconds and then I'd say, "Come now," and she'd instantly have another orgasm. I would repeat the exercise enough times to make it permanently reliable. Then, even after hypnosis, or even on another day, I'd fire it off as many times as I wanted. Fun stuff. This has also been very consistent across women. The female orgasm has always fascinated me. It usually lasts for about 20 seconds. I wondered if I could extend it out further. I learned from my phone sex period that I could extend a woman's orgasm out another 20 or 30 seconds by telling her right when she starts to come that I am about to come. Women love it when their man comes, and they want to come at the same time. When she started coming, I'd enthusiastically tell her that I am going to come. I'd tell her to keep coming because I am about to come. After her orgasm had gone for about 20 seconds, I'd grunt deeply like I was coming and I'd tell her to keep coming. I'd make it very vocal and lasting for about 20 seconds. By doing this, I could get her orgasm to extend out to a minute. I wondered if I could extend it out for as much as 5 minutes. But I wouldn't be able to do it by continually telling her that I was about to come. Since I had mastered the female orgasm through mental, I figured I could leverage that. I'd cause a mental orgasm. Then with hypnosis I'd create an instant orgasm. Then another. I would work her up to such an orgasmic frenzy that she was totally lost in it all. Then I'd create one more instant orgasm and I'd simply tell her that she was coming so hard that she couldn't even stop coming until I tell her to. She would keep coming. I would continue the intense vulgar narrative to keep her going. This went on way beyond 5 minutes. It went on indefinitely. I would get women to come for an entire hour. Knowing what I learned from hypnosis, I decided to try doing it without any hypnosis. I got it to work. I would not have to hypnotize a woman after all. And it was very consistent across women. They could all do it. Orgasms are the convincer. When she is having wild screaming orgasms beyond anything she has ever experienced, or even imagined, she is convinced that her man has a powerful sexual power over her. Orgasms are addictive. A woman will become so addicted to the extended incredible feelings and the neurotransmitters, that she will have to keep getting them. And it causes her to become very bonded to her man. Do it to your woman, and she will be convinced. She will know that you are her master. At least in the bedroom, that is. Which is the way she prefers it. Make her jack off her own cock. All women have wondered what it would be like to have a penis. For men, it is all about penetration. Women have no concept of that. But they have all wondered, what would it be like? I learned hypnosis in March of 2000. The first thing I did with hypnosis when I returned home was to hypnotize my girlfriend. I made it her reality that she had a penis. It was real for her. I made her jack it off. It was wild watching her crank away like a pro, and she had an orgasm. It was a real orgasm. Since then, I have done that with a number of women. It was real for them. They actually had penile orgasms. They described the orgasm as external. No surprise there. Interestingly, they all bragged about how big they were and how far they shot. Haha asked what they would like to do with their new penis. The requests were among one of the following three: fuck a beautiful woman, get a blowjob from a man and woman, and fuck her boyfriend hard up the ass like the dirty dog that he is. So, with hypnosis, I made that real for them too. The bizarre phenomenon that appeared is that they each felt a sense of power in having a penis, and they each felt possessive of what they fucked. Traits that are generally typical of men. Make something real for a woman, and all the associated traits become real. And then I worked it so that I could do it without hypnosis. And that worked consistently too. How many women can say they have experienced what it's like to have a cock? Do it to your woman, and she will be in total amazement, and she will know that you are her master. It was at that point in my learning that I knew that I was going to devote my energies to teaching men how they can give their women wild screaming orgasms. How to bring out her inner slut again. This information only pertains to mentally healthy women. In fact, it best fits women who are intelligent, high self-esteem, and highly sexual. And when I say, women this and women that, I mean most women. Certainly there are exceptions to everything. And this only applies to women who you intend to see on a continuing basis. It does not apply to one-night stands. The most important reason for this is because only women who take you seriously are going to respond to this. Remember, when you lead a woman, you are responsible for her. You must be a responsible leader. And all of this is absolutely in the context of enhancing a relationship that is based on trust and intimacy. It is all for the enhancement of the relationship. Basically, this stuff only works on the really worthy ones. As it should. And this is not about having power over women. This is about being powerful and about empowering her. Most importantly, you want to get your woman to a point of total abandonment. Always know that women actually like sex. A lot. They like it often, and they like it good. If a woman does not want sex often, it is because it is not good. Follow this general rule: the better it is, the more she has to have it. Once they do have it, they become addicted to it. Nothing else ever compares. You can ruin it for all the other guys. If the woman has been with a truly exciting lover before, that's actually a good thing, because she has to have it again. She will always long for it. Once she meets you, and she begins to recognize that you can make her feel all those things again, she will powerfully respond. Unleash her sexual potential. Men need to understand that there is a massive amount of untapped sexual potential in women. It is there in a woman. Everything you need to fulfill a woman is already within her. You simply need to tap into that. And only a man can do that for her. And thus, men have a tremendous amount of power. More than they know. Many men complain that women have all the power. They argue that a woman can simply walk into a nightclub and say to a man, "Let's go and have sex," and it's a done deal. But those men do not understand where the real power is. What she really wants is a personally powerful man who will lead her through all those experiences that bring out the natural woman in her. Women may not know this, and they certainly are unable to articulate it, but it is exactly what they respond to. and such a man is an extremely rare thing to find. Such a man has a tremendous amount of power, because she has to have that, and she reacts so very powerfully to it. Feel like a man. Ultimately, all of us men want to feel like a man. We have various ways of experiencing that. For some of us, we look for it in sexual conquests. For some of us, it is conquests of power or money. But for most men, I have found that he really feels like a man when his woman believes in him completely and does all those naughty taboo things with him. Napoleon Hill wrote that, "Man's greatest motivating force is to please woman." If a man is with a woman he can't please, he will go on to the next one. And women need to understand that it is very important to him to please her. If she doesn't give him that opportunity, he will go find a woman who will. All interaction between a man and a woman is sexual. The underlying basis of all social interaction between a man and a woman who just met is sexual, plain and simple. It is not articulated, it happens subconsciously. It is what is on both people's minds. You are the masculine complement to her femininity. She is the feminine complement to your masculinity. There is nothing more natural than a man and a woman getting together. The correct motivation and intent: don't think about getting sex. Instead, think about giving her really good sex. And there is certainly opportunity out there. That is the correct motivation. The correct intent is to bring out the decadent, primal, carnal, insatiably hungry, ruthlessly expressive natural sexual woman in her. That will drive all the rest. Genuinely like women, many guys see women as the obstacle to get around to get to the sex. Wrong. Many men are angry with women. They blame all women for the few women who dumped them or shunned them. Wrong. There is not a grand scheme among women against you. Quite the contrary. Women are actually rooting for men. Women honestly and truly want men to fulfill women. However, women usually cannot articulate how men can fulfill women. Instead, believe in women. Have empathy and compassion for women. Be fascinated by women. Genuinely get to know and understand women. The more you do, the more fun it becomes. Command respect. Demand that you be treated with respect. Treat others with respect. Associate only with those who treat you with respect. Treat yourself with respect. A woman can only have respect for you if you treat yourself with respect. To command respect, you are self-reliant and a responsible person. You must command respect in order for her to take what you say seriously. She must take what you say seriously in order for her to become responsive to you. And at the same time respect the fact that she wants to be slutty. Earn her trust in order for her to surrender to you completely. She must trust you completely. You must earn her trust. You do this by demonstrating that you are trustworthy. This is very simple. Do not violate her trust. Do what you say you are going to do. Do not do what you say you are not going to do. And rise to the occasions in all the little opportunities that make themselves available for you to demonstrate that you are trustworthy. Be a man, stand tall, tell the truth, live a life of integrity, and live up to your responsibilities. Many men are afraid to be a man. As you look back, you can probably find that most of your bad decisions and failures can be directly attributed to the fact that you were afraid to be a man. I know I can certainly say that. Those men who get told by women, let's just be friends, are men who are afraid to be men. They are afraid to assert their masculinity in order to not risk the friendship they have with the woman. They think that if they voice their attraction for her, that she will dismiss them. In some cases it may happen, but certainly not in most. Such men are left in a drought. Passion and absolute conviction. All of the men who are successful at bringing out the natural sexual creature in their woman are men who are passionate about it. You must do this with absolute conviction, absolute determination. There can be no crack in your armor, there can be no crack in your voice, or it won't be believable. Only when it is believable is it going to work. You are leading, and she will only follow if she sees you as believable. Have a plan when you bring your woman out on a date. Know what you are going to do. Know what time it is going to happen. Know where you are going to take her for dinner. Know where you are going to take her dancing. Of course, you are flexible too. If she suggests something else, you can do that. In our modern world, women are busy during the week with their lives, such as working, getting an education, and so forth. Women want to be respected for their intellect and accomplishments, as they should. That's all good. But on Saturday night, she doesn't want to have the responsibilities of the date. She wants to feel like a woman. She wants to enjoy the classic role of being a woman. She wants the man to be the man. That sets the basis for everything. It is a context in which the man leads and the woman follows. Romance is the socially acceptable term for sexuality. In the context of romance, sexuality is acceptable. There is a lot of symbolism in romance. Take advantage of those symbols. Learn how to fold an ordinary paper napkin into a paper rose. In the context of romance, she can begin to feel all those things that women want to feel. It's just like the romance novel. And you don't have to be in love to have romance. And you don't have to be in a classic dating situation to have romance. And being romantic does not mean that you are in a classic dating situation. Romance elicits all the wonderful dreams she had as a little girl. And that is the context in which sexuality can emerge. Emotional connection is the lubricant to sexuality. Women are emotional creatures, and they want to feel connected to their man. Establish that emotional connection. Allow her to emote. But don't let it go so far such that you end up being her emotional pincushion. Do not try to fix her problems. Women loathe that. Instead, have empathy for her and support her. Women love that. Show your vulnerability to her. Allow yourself to emote to her, slightly, not in a needy way, but in a way to convey connection and to slightly reveal your vulnerabilities. How can you be an emotionally connected person but still be the man and command respect? Being emotionally connected is a manly thing. It is not contradictory. It is only a wimpy thing when it is with lack of sexual threat. It is only wimpy when the man is sexually harmless. Calibration. The truly skillful lover simply knows when his woman is ready. You should know when she is ready to be kissed. You should know when she is ready to be entered. There are many tests out there that tell you how to know if she is ready to be kissed. You can run them, but you need to get to the point where you simply know. The problem with running tests is that you are not as believable. You no longer come across as being in the lead. you are not as much of a sexual threat if you are testing. Instead, you should be calibrating and leading. And you will if you get out of your own head. Pay attention to her. Enjoy the process. Enjoy watching the changes in her. The "it just happened" clause. Everything you do must be in the context that she can simply say, "It just happened." Do not articulate what is going to happen. Instead, simply lead her. What is going to happen should never be articulated, or else for her to comply is for her to articulate what is going to happen. And to do so would define her as easy, or a slut, or being in the lead. And that is not the woman's role. Instead, simply move things along slowly but surely using body language. Let her get lost in the passion. She should always be able to justify it later by simply saying, "It just happened." Monday morning she can go into work and tell her girlfriends all about it, and then say, "It just happened." And they'll all swoon, because they know exactly what she's talking about. Two people got swept away in passion. There will be times later in the relationship when you can, and should, articulate what is going to happen, for effect. Patience. Too many men are in a big hurry to get to the sex. That is a huge mistake. Do not push against last-minute resistance. You will be like all the other guys who objectify women and do not respect her as a real person. And it will reek of desperation. Instead, defer your own gratification for the big goal. The big goal is to bring out that ruthlessly expressive sexual creature in her. It's going to take a little time before she becomes your very naughty, horny little cum slut fuck bitch. In fact, move things along just slightly slower than she'd like it. Make her wait. It builds that sexual tension, and it makes her think. When she is away from you, she is going to think about it a lot. Because it is that time away from you that she becomes close to you. That is early in the relationship. Later in the relationship, there will be times when you will initiate sex when she least expects it. Dominant. Most women are sexually submissive creatures. They respond to a dominant man. Be comfortable in that role. Here's a good example. If she is wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, pull the shirt over her head, but keep it on her arms. This lightly restrains her arms. It's called the hockey shirt trick. While laying down and making out with her, hold her hands above her head. While standing and making out with her, hold one hand behind her head, and the other behind the small of her back. Then move her backwards until your elbows smash into the wall. She will not be hurt, your elbows will take all the blow. It is all symbolism. Many of these light restraints she could easily get out of, but it's the symbolism that is powerful. The remote control egg. This is an egg-shaped vibrator that is turned on and off by radio remote control. You hold the remote. A totally awesome way to demonstrate your dominance. Makes dining out most interesting. Show her how much she turns you on. This is the magic dust of instant turn on for her. Tell her how much she turns you on. Demonstrate to her how much she turns you on. Tell her how you think of her when you masturbate. During intercourse, especially at the climax, be expressive. Women love to know that their man is excited about them. Do all these things. It works like magic. The importance of naughty naughty is the enabling context for taboos. Everything taboo that you bring her through will be done in the context of naughty. she's doing it because it's naughty. And that will get her through all those taboo things that she would never do. But when she's with you, because you drive like a man, you are dominant, simply tell her that she is being naughty. In that context, nothing is taboo. And be sure to tell her that it turns you on. That will be her justification. Dirty talk. I cannot tell you how very important and how powerful this is. Your most powerful tool in the bedroom is not your tool, it is your voice. It is by far the most powerful tool. A lot of men have trouble doing that. They are concerned that she will take it wrong, or that she will be offended or insulted, or that it would make her a slut. Women don't want to be a slut, but they love to be slutty. In the right context, with her man that she trusts and respects, in privacy, under his care and direction and watchful eye, she loves to be slutty. Start things slowly. Build the sexual arousal. Then begin introducing the dirty talk. Let the sexual arousal increase. Be sure to do it with absolute conviction. It must be believable. As the sexual arousal increases, the context changes. Everything you say in heightened sexual arousal is taken in a completely different context. She will not take it wrong, because, in the context of heightened sexual arousal, everything is taken in a completely different context. It is all mental stimulation. Phone sex is dirty talk on steroids. In phone sex, you can get very raunchy, and she can respond powerfully to you. You start off easy and then slowly ramp it up to be extremely explicit and crude and rude. You can get away with things in phone sex that you have not yet been able to get away with in person. Someday they may be possible. In phone sex, you bring her through experiences mentally. Once she has experienced it in her imagination, once she has made it real in her mind, and it is associated with heightened sexual arousal, she can later experience it in person. Because it is phone sex, it is just a fantasy, and so she can go along with it. But once she experiences it in her mind, it has become real for her subconscious. And thus, it can later become true. New orgasms in new ways. Orgasms are the convincer. Without wild screaming orgasms, nothing will work. Give her new orgasms in new ways. If she's never had an orgasm, give her her first orgasm. If she's never had a vaginal orgasm, give her a vaginal orgasm. If she's never had an anal orgasm, give her an anal orgasm. If she's never had a nipple orgasm, give her a nipple orgasm. If she's never had an instant orgasm on command, give her an instant orgasm on command. Bring her through these new experiences. They are powerful convincers that increase her responsiveness to you. But it's not just that you give her orgasms, it's that you have a lot to say about when and how long she has an orgasm. Be dominant. The yes ladder lawyers have a saying, a lawyer never asks a question in court that he does not already know the answer to. I would add to that, a true lover never asks a question in bed that he does not already know the answer to be yes. Get her sequentially saying yes. You love it when I do this. Yes. It feels so good when I do this. Yes. This makes you so excited, doesn't it? Yes. You want me to? Yes. This sets up a pattern for her following your lead. Fantasies and role play. Get to know her fantasies. Describe them back to her as you masturbate her. Make up some fantasies. Lead her mentally through those fantasies as you masturbate her. Introduce new fantasies using phone sex. Use role-play to act out fantasies. Since it's just make-believe, she can feel much more comfortable about playing the part. Once she has played the part, it has become real for her in her mind, and she is much more apt to actually do it for real. Expand her sexual experiences with you. She's going to do all those things she dreamed about experiencing, and even some she never dreamed about. You are going to lead her through these experiences, such that you and her are going to experience these things together in real life. You are always pushing the envelope just a little bit. Little baby steps at a time. All of these things that you bring her through continue to open her up, continue to release that massive sexual potential. The power of possessive. It is a bad thing to be possessive of your woman from a relationship standpoint. It demonstrates fear and weakness. But in the context of heightened sexual arousal, it is a very powerful thing to be possessive of your woman. Whose naughty little slut are you? Yours, Daddy. Piece of property. And for the really advanced level, brace yourself, treat her like a piece of property. Bring her to a fetish party and pull her around by a collar and leash. Make her wear lingerie and heels around the house as you ignore her. After doing this for an appropriate amount of time, you then take her and use her to get off. Apply with a thick coating of dirty talk. Total surrender. Get her to the point of total surrender, making her completely naked to you in every way, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Post-coital rebonding. After an emotionally powerful sexual experience, you must ground her again. You must make her feel close to you and secure with you. You must demonstrate to her how very important she is to you and how much you appreciate her. You must re-establish that emotional connection and intimacy. This prevents her from later feeling sleazy and cheap, it makes her become even closer to you, and it makes her look forward to the next episode even more. In conclusion, you love women. You are fascinated by women. You adore everything that defines a woman as woman. You derive no greater pleasure than giving a woman the most powerful, long-lasting pleasure of her entire life. A woman is most fulfilled when she is wildly crazy about her man. When she feels beautiful and feminine and sexy. When she feels naughty. When she is aroused beyond description. When she can't get enough. You appreciate the massive pent-up sexual potential in a woman, and you bring that out in her, until she surrenders herself completely to you, allowing herself to become totally naked to you in every way. A woman's pleasure is very cerebral. Her mind is the most important factor. You drive her wild with desire. You understand that women are highly sexual creatures that crave intimacy, and you are comfortable with her sexuality. Women are far more sexual than men. Women have elaborate, intricate fantasies beyond anything men can imagine. For women, it is largely mental and emotional, and about being swept away. Being a masterful lover is about being personally and sensually powerful. Being personally powerful is about empowering beliefs, self-reliance, a sense of deservedness, and being the man. Being sensually powerful is about enabling her to enjoy everything that comes with being a woman, by expanding her envelope of sexual experiences, and bringing out in her that ruthlessly expressive natural woman. Everything you need to completely fulfill a woman is already within her. You bring it all out in her because you command respect, You earn trust, and you lead her. Too many men see women as an obstacle to get around to get to the sex. Such men are just masturbating inside an object. What you are seeking so relentlessly is nothing that comes from outside of you, it's something you already have. The key to having what you want is not getting what you want, but being the person for whom getting what you want is a mere byproduct of the reality you create simply by the way you live life. It builds a foundation of belief that is very real and a relationship with reality that is very empowering. It is about two people celebrating being human beings. She is the feminine complement to your masculinity. You are the masculine complement to her femininity. She knows that you can make her think powerful thoughts and feel powerful emotions. She becomes ultra responsive to you. There is nothing more natural than a man and a woman being together. Stop thinking about getting sex from women. Think about giving women really good sex. Women are highly sexual creatures, and you're the man who's going to oblige her needs. You are the man who's going to leverage her emotional soul to connect with her romantic heart to entice her innate sensuality to excite her, and her downright horniness to satiate her, and then do it again, and then again, until she is delirious with pleasure, ecstatic about being a woman, totally loving life, and wildly crazy about you.